Blood slowly trickled down Elijah's side as he sat silently on the cold plastic chair of the emergency room. His face was pale, his breathing shaky, but no one came. Nurses walked past him without a glance, their eyes brushing over him like he didn't exist. Patients who arrived after him were being called in, while he sat hunched over, clutching his ribs, the pain growing worse with every breath. He looked around, confused, scared, invisible. What the hospital didn't know was that Elijah wasn't just any 14-year-old boy. He was the only son of Camille Brooks, one of the most powerful women in the country. And when she got his text, everything changed with just one phone call. Elijah Brooks was like any other 14-year-old kid, quiet, respectful, a bit shy, and absolutely in love with football. That Saturday afternoon, he had taken a hard hit during a school match. His coach, concerned about internal injuries, dropped him off at the nearest hospital and assured him he'd be in good hands. Elijah nodded, clutching his side, his backpack over one shoulder. But the moment he stepped into the emergency room alone, something shifted. No one saw the pain behind his eyes. No one cared enough to ask if he was okay. He wasn't dressed fancy, didn't look like someone important, just a black boy with worn sneakers and a hoodie, quietly asking for help. What they didn't know was who his mother was. Camille Brooks wasn't just successful, she was a force. The founder and CEO of one of the largest healthcare tech firms in the country, she had built her empire brick by brick, and she never forgot how the world treated people who looked like her and her son. Minutes turned into what felt like hours. Elijah shifted uncomfortably in his seat, trying to breathe through the stabbing pain in his ribs. Every inhale felt like a knife twisting in his chest, but still, no one came. He approached the front desk once, politely saying, "Excuse me, I think I really need help." The nurse behind the glass barely looked up. "Take a seat. We'll call you." But no one ever did. He watched other patients walk in after him, a teenager with a sprained wrist, a woman coughing loudly. All of them got checked in, taken through the double doors, given attention. Elijah sat back down, now hunched over, both arms wrapped around his body like he was trying to hold himself together. The room around him blurred with tears he refused to let fall. Staff passed him again. Some glanced at him, then quickly looked away. Others didn't bother at all. To them, he was just another kid, probably uninsured, probably trouble. Elijah didn't know how to explain what he was feeling, but deep down, something told him this wasn't just a wait. It was something else. His fingers trembled as he pulled out his phone. He opened his mother's contact, staring at the screen for a second, unsure if he should worry her. Finally, with one hand pressing against the growing pain in his side, he typed a single word: ignored. He hit send. He didn't know where she was. He didn't know what she would do. But 30 seconds later, on the 32nd floor of a glass tower across the city, Camille Brooks' phone buzzed silently during a board meeting. She glanced down at the message. One word, one signal. She stood up without saying anything. And when she made the call, everything changed. Camille Brooks was never one to panic. In the world of high-stakes healthcare business, she was known for her composure, her razor-sharp mind, and her presence that could silence an entire boardroom. That day, she was deep in a strategy meeting with international investors. Numbers, projections, and market share percentages filled the glass walls of her 32nd floor conference room, until her phone buzzed gently against the table. She never checked her phone during meetings, never. But something, a mother's instinct, a tug in her chest, told her to look. One word lit up her screen: ignored. No context, no panic, just the kind of silence that speaks louder than any scream. Her pulse slowed, not because she was scared, but because she was angry. Controlled, calculated, ice-cold angry. She stood up, cutting off a director mid-sentence. Paused the meeting, she said, "Emergency." Walking toward the window, her heels sharp against the tile, she dialed a number, a private direct line that very few people even knew existed. When the voice on the other end answered, she didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "This is Camille Brooks. I want a code black initiated at St. Anthony Regional immediately. ER compliance, staff audit, patient logs, all of it." and I want the chief medical officer on a call in the next 10 minutes. And if my son is not in a treatment room by the time I arrive, prepare for a public shutdown and legal action. Understood. The voice on the line stammered. Why, yes, ma'am. Right away. Camille ended the call, picked up her coat, and walked out of the building like a woman on a mission. Because this time it wasn't business. It was her son. And nobody ignored her son and walked away untouched. The sliding doors of the emergency room opened with a quiet swoosh, but what followed was anything but quiet. Camille Brooks stepped inside with the calm intensity of a storm about to hit. She wore a long black coat over a navy suit, not a hair out of place, her eyes sharp, scanning the room. She didn't ask for directions. She didn't need to. Within seconds, heads turned. Nurses paused mid-task. Someone whispered, "Isn't that?" She spotted Elijah instantly, curled up on the same hard chair, pale, holding his side, eyes tired but lighting up the moment he saw her. She crossed the room in 4 strides and knelt down, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "Elijah, I'm here, baby. I've got you." He nodded, biting his lip to hold back tears. But the moment his mother touched his face, the fear melted into relief. Camille stood up and turned to the nurse's station, where the same woman who had brushed Elijah off earlier stood frozen. Her face went pale when she realized who was standing in front of her. Camille's voice was calm, but the fire behind her words made the entire waiting room go silent. "Tell me, what made you think it was okay to ignore a child in visible pain? Was it the color of his skin? His clothes? Or just the fact that he didn't look like your idea of a priority?" The nurse stammered, reaching for words that wouldn't come. Before she could respond, the hospital director rushed in, breathless and panicked. "Mrs. Brooks," he began, "we deeply regret." Camille held up her hand. "Save it. Your apology means nothing to the child you ignored for 30 minutes. Fix it, and fast." She wasn't asking anymore. She was in control. The very next morning, headlines exploded across social media and news outlets. CEO Camille Brooks slams ER negligence after son ignored for 30 minutes. St. Anthony Regional under investigation for racial bias in emergency care. Code Black. What happened after a mother made one call? The hospital's emergency department was placed under immediate internal audit. Staff were pulled into mandatory interviews. Patient records were reviewed. And most critically, the ER was temporarily suspended for violating standard protocols of triage and patient care. Camille didn't stop there. She issued a public statement that shook the industry. "This wasn't about my title or my influence. It was about my son, a child in pain who was treated like he didn't matter." But what haunts me most is the question: how many other children have been ignored and never had a mother powerful enough to stop it? The message struck a nerve. Parents across the country shared their own experiences. Healthcare workers, especially Black nurses and doctors, came forward about systemic bias they'd witnessed for years. Camille turned that one call into a movement. She launched a new nonprofit initiative, Seen and Safe, focused on funding implicit bias training in hospitals, creating legal protections for vulnerable patients, and building technology that tracked patient intake behavior in real time. Back at home, Elijah was recovering well, surrounded by love, comfort, and the quiet knowledge that his pain hadn't been in vain. He asked his mother one evening, "Did I do something wrong?" She pulled him close and whispered, "No, baby, you did exactly what you should have done. You told me. And because of you, things will never be the same." Some stories end quietly, but this one, it ended with a message that echoed far beyond hospital walls. Camille Brooks didn't shut down a hospital out of revenge. She did it to expose a truth millions already knew, that sometimes being Black in a place that's supposed to heal you can hurt you first. Elijah was just one boy, but his pain lit a fire under a system too used to silence. This wasn't just a wake-up call for one hospital. It was a warning to every institution that thinks power only walks in wearing a suit. Sometimes it walks in with a hoodie and a mother who refuses to let the world look away. So, if this story moved you, if it made you feel angry, inspired, or seen, don't just scroll away. Backhand index pointing right, like, share, and hit subscribe. Because we're telling the stories that others ignore. Stories that make you feel. Stories that demand change. And this was just the beginning.